Active listening is really important, and we as salespeople, we just like to talk and talk and talk because we think that's going to get us the deal. Active listening is going to give you a lot more closes.
Some people think busy work is work, but I like your approach, which is more, where is my efficiency? Where's the best use of my time?
You got in this business to make money. You just got to go until it's a no, an absolute no. And even then, you might try it one more time. To me, that's not a no. What I heard was like, okay, not right now. I'm going to reach out in a few more weeks and try and get them to know that I am going to call you back. So here's why I think young people have a real opportunity in this industry to get in and make a lot of money now. And it's looking for new ways to really grow your business. Right now, there's a real edge for somebody that can come in and understand how to market themselves. We as a industry have always kind of done what we always say, well, it works for me. Well, have you tried anything new? And a lot of the older guys, older people, they don't.
Most people in real estate build one company and write that out. But he built three, from cold calling banks on paper spreadsheets in the early 90s to leading a $50+ million career to turning his brokerage into a media lab. Joe's story isn't just about deals, it's about discipline, reinvention, and the grind that nobody really applauds, but is what it takes to get to where he is. This isn't just his story, it's a masterclass into how to survive and scale in commercial real estate without losing your edge. Joe, you've built, rebuilt, mentored, taught, and I have a feeling that there's a lot more under the surface that we can get into. So I'm very happy you're here.
Thank you for having me, Ahmad. I appreciate you having me on.
And I do want to say that before we started recording, we were talking real estate, and real estate people get excited about very niche things. Yeah. So I know this is going to be such an interesting conversation. Let's start to the beginning. I know you're from Nebraska. I know you have those roots, and then you came from a period pre-computers even. You mentioned it in your intro video of YouTube. Yeah. What belief about money or work perhaps shaped the way you moved in those early years?
Money wasn't I grew up not having money. That was never really a thought process. My thing was I want to create something that is going to last and be the best at it. So I always had a focus on that and providing the best service. And so that's always been our focus with our companies. And that's the part that's worked very, very well for us.
So you didn't come from money, but you wanted to do something that lasts. Why did you go into real estate?
It was, so as you saw when you were doing your research, which by the way, man, you do some in-depth research. That's amazing. I grew up and my father was an auctioneer, and he used to just auction livestock at a sale barn in Spalding, Nebraska. But he eventually found his way into doing real estate. And when he started talking about real estate with my mom also had a passion for it too. And her and I would both be just glued listening to him talk about it. And this was mostly farmland in Nebraska. And that's actually where I started in Lincoln, Nebraska. I was trying to do farmland at 18 years old. That didn't go very well, but a little too young, but I learned a lot. But it just became a passion for me. I just love the way, I didn't even really understand the investment side of it yet. I just knew that I just had the passion for it. I just loved it because I wasn't really great in school, but this is something that just caught my attention. And it just was like it was born in me. And I love the industry as much to this day.
I connect with you. I think that seeing your family involved in the industry and talking real estate, it could get so you never stop learning. And I think that's something that real estate always evolves, and it's something so necessary, and it's usually the biggest purchase of someone's life. And if it's an investment, it can be a godsend, like it can be an anchor to the bottom of the ocean. So learning that and giving people connection to that is really important.
Yeah. Back on the farm, it's like you said, it's always learning, right? So if you get a listing and somebody has a use that they're using for it, maybe it's just pasture right now back then, but its better use would be as farmland, creating row crop or maybe wheat, oats, something like that, or alfalfa even. You did those analysis, and I'm not even great at math, but I'd love to figure out how to find the best use for a property. And I kind of think maybe that's where the real love got to be, because it's always a puzzle, because and things change, and everybody has to remember that real estate is so local that if you I'm in a high rise in West LA right now, you take this building and you plop it down a mile from here, the value is going to be completely different because we're in a prime area. You go down a mile south of here, so not so prime. It's going to, the tenant mix is going to be completely different, price different, so that's why I love it. It's a challenge, but it's a fun challenge for me.
For sure, it's a puzzle, and I like that you framed it that way, because most people don't understand the complex. Perhaps they see the building and they don't realize that someone had to decide that was the best use case, high rise versus a hotel versus I guess an affordable housing versus a gas station. Like there's so many options, and someone had to make those decisions to get to where you are.
Yeah.
Continuing the early days of the Sands Group, you mentioned there was no email, there was just letters, the follow-ups, it was
Ahmad,
hard.
you're making me sound old.
No,
yes.
I think it's such a great, I want to know how you train people, how you teach people about structuring their day so that they can get it done, and that they don't really, now we're empowered with AI and CRMs and email and all this stuff. But that's just, if you don't have the culture, you cannot go to where you were at 600 to 700 closings a year.
Right.
So what do you teach about structuring your day to your agents today that they still may be getting wrong?
Live it, actually. I don't just teach it, I live it. Because I tell them, I'm like, listen, this is what I've got from this time to this time. If you need to meet with me, this is my window. Let's make it work. And, obviously you have to be a little bit flexible with it. But I show them the efficiencies. I show them all the efficiencies in it. So I'll sit down with them and say, okay, you're in at 8:30 in the morning, and you're going to do obviously, if you're doing retail, you're not going to start cold calling until after 10 because nobody's in the store. And what are you doing that morning? What is the most efficient thing that you can be doing at that time? So it has to make it to where you're creating the most efficiencies throughout your day. And I also think you want to put in there, you want to book times to step away. I go outside at 2:30 every day. Myself and my business partner, George, he's the CEO of our commercial brokerage company here in LA. We go outside and get sun for about 15 minutes just to sit outside, talk, get away from everything. I schedule that even. And everybody knows that here. So there's not a lot of people running in, hey, do you have time? Or, can we do this real quick? I mean, it still happens occasionally, but if they didn't know my schedule, they didn't know how structured I was, I'd have people constantly coming in. That's not good for me or for them, because they've now stepped away from their desk. They're not doing their calls. They're not following up their clients. And so I just really show them the efficiencies of it and how it works very well for them.
So what I'm getting is that you time block everything, even your 15-minute sun exposure with your partner, getting to and then communicating that to your team so there's no cross, let's say, interruptions. Is that something that you learned early on? When did you start improving this? And when was it the minute that you were like, this is the way? Yeah.
When we were early on, we didn't know. So George, when we got started, obviously early on, there was really no mentoring going, and we were getting a business that was a startup essentially. So George, we were in a big auction company. I was in the marketing department. George was in the closing department. They did an IPO and got caught fudging some numbers. So they did a bunch of layoffs. I ended up in the closing department under George. Cut to a few months later, he ended up laying me off. And so then a couple of months later, he got laid off. And so we had never done an auction all by ourselves. We always had this big company and all the moving parts of that. And we went over and did this startup, and we had to figure it out ourselves because nobody else is around. And so we had to figure out, we just started cold calling every day because we didn't really know what else to do. And honestly, back then, there's all you could do. You couldn't send an email. You could write and send letters, but we just figured out that this is what we need to do by making a lot of mistakes. And, we would cold call every day, and then at 3:00 we would stop and send letters to everybody we spoke to that day. Handwritten, not handwritten, we'd have it printed out, but we'd sign them all, put the name in, sign them all, and send them out. And we just started learning that, we're getting a lot more done with these efficiencies. Well, when we were doing 600-700 properties a year, that means we had a couple closings every day. And so that's really hard to do. And fortunately, we got a little Mac, which I wish I would have had now. I don't even know what they're called. It's about that wide and about that tall. It's probably worth something now. And we were just using Excel spreadsheet on everything. And that was the most efficient way at the time. But we always watch out for technology and something coming in that could make us more efficient. And, obviously now AI is helping a lot. But yeah, it was just through trial and error is what the way we learned. And when we started seeing the efficiencies, how we're able to do more, we always just jumped on it.
It's a interesting concept because some people think busy work is work. Other people think I'm gonna do the hard stuff first and then get to the easy things later. Other people just kind of dry leaf, wherever the wind blows, they go. But I like your approach, which is more where is my efficiency? Where's the best use of my time?
Yeah. Analytics. You want to look at your analytics. What did I do? What did I do every day, every week, and every month, and obviously every year? You want to look at where your production was and what is really working at the best, what's working the best for you, and really taking a look at that. And where's the productivity? Where's it best during the day? Because my productivity is highest in the mornings. Afternoons, that's when I tend to book more meetings. But so I know in the mornings, I'm a lot more efficient. I get a lot more done. In the afternoons, that's when I tend to focus on, more our one-on-one meetings with our agents or my mentoring calls, whatever I've got then. But yeah, really looking at all your analytics, really understanding where your production is coming from and what you need to work on and what is working best for you.
And when you built your first company and you said it was sort of like a startup, you perhaps didn't even have a playbook. What would surprise people about what you did right by accident?
Yeah, that's a very good question because George and I were just talking about this the other day. And again, we didn't have any mentors, so we didn't know, but we would go at least one day a week and get in the car and cover Southern California looking at development deals. So we were auctioning off bank repos, which we had Freddie Mac they were taking in hundreds of properties every day. So we had to auction them as fast as we could. And that's nationwide. They weren't taking that many in California. So we'd also do development deals. Every developer was struggling. We would try and pitch them. But there was no way to really find out where those developers were that was efficient other than drive. So one day a week, we drove clear down to San Diego, never on a highway because there's not that much development. There'd be side streets, and we would cover one day a week. And we were in a meeting one time with a developer, and we were rattling all this information that we put together from doing this driving for so many months. And this developer about fell over. He goes, "How do you guys know every project in this area?" He goes, "That's amazing. Nobody else knows this stuff." So it's collecting data just the hard way. You can do it on the internet now. We just had to get in the car. It was a drag. We get so tired driving. When you're driving from LA to San Diego and driving, on these side streets, you wouldn't make it all the way to San Diego, but you'd be headed that way. And driving other side streets back, it'd take a full day. But having that information, which if you look, there's a guy in New York by the name of Bob Knackle. And when COVID was going, every other broker was sitting at home going, okay, well, we'll get through this. Well, Bob is in his 60s, and he said, I can't sit here. He goes, I got to go do something. So he started mapping out Manhattan, where all the development deals were. Now he has what's called the map room in Manhattan, news channels. Every real estate publication calls Bob for information now. So he found something, got out, and they actually walked and drove Manhattan, and they update this map constantly. It's just finding that one thing that you can really do that sets yourself apart. And, that's what we did. Look what Bob's doing. He's got his own company again now. And, this is the guy that doesn't need to work. He sold his first company, I think it was to JLL for like $100 million. And, here's a guy that could have went off into the sunset, had a good time at a young age. And look what he's out there doing. It's because he knows how to do it and he has a drive to do it.
For sure. I actually interviewed Bob a couple months ago.
Isn't his depth of market knowledge? I just am like, it's amazing to me.
Number one question to him was, how do you sell 2,000 buildings?
Mine is,
he was
how the hell, Bob, do you spend all that money? Because he makes a lot of it. But his knowledge of the market.
His money for him is not, like you said at the beginning, money is not the driver.
It's not why you do it. It's a result of it.
Exactly. And when you see him talk passionately about AI and how mapping development and what he's doing now is really transforming the way people think about development and making better decisions and being able to, because the number one problem of real estate is always, where are we in the curve?
Yeah.
Are we heading to hyper supply? Are we heading to a recession? Is there a crisis coming? And nobody can tell. This is like the ultimate question of real estate. And because there's a lag, it's so difficult to make the decisions.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing him up.
So yeah, he's something. We're part of a commercial real estate influencer summit that's coming up in September, and he's a big part of that. That's how I met him, and I interviewed him. When him and I get in the room, it's just all real estate talk. And but he's another one that he wants to learn. He's always listening to everybody. And I was sitting in a room watching him, and he was talking to these big wigs at the Commercial Real Estate Influencer Summit, all top producers. And I saw these young people standing there waiting to talk to him. I'm like, this is going to be interesting to see how he treats these new people. Exactly the same. But he had questions for them about their market. He just is taking in market information constantly, and that's key.
Yeah. You've said structure and follow-up were life or death. What's a system or habit you use today that built your edge and keeps your edge going?
Oh, that's a good. So here's why I think young people have a real opportunity in this industry to get in and make a lot of money now. And it's looking for new ways to really grow your business. Right now, there's a real edge for somebody that can come in and understand how to market themselves. Obviously, you got to get the right firm, because if you get into a big firm, they're not going to allow you to market yourself. But there's so many tools that can give you the edge to take over a marketplace. I mean, I've got a young guy here in LA, he's in Santa Monica. He started in September of 2024. He's done, I think, 4 deals now in his marketplace. But he's putting content out. He knows the market incredibly well. He's working with the city of Santa Monica on a potential event we're going to do with him. He's just is out in his market, and I can go back there and ask him about, how many vacancies are on the 3rd Street Promenade right now. He'll know the exact number, and he'll know who has it listed. And I just think there's a huge opportunity right now with the tools that are available and the way it's changing, because we as a industry have always kind of done what we always say, well, it works for me. Well, have you tried anything new? And a lot of the older people, they don't. They are still doing the cold calls and the referrals. And, so I think is that somebody new, if you really want an edge, that's it. A lot of opportunity with these new tools that are out there.
For sure. And I agree. What about the follow-up? Because I think for any salesman in any industry, the dreaded follow-up is the worst part of your day. Is you sent the proposal, someone doesn't reply, and now you have to follow up. And no one likes to receive a follow-up email to say, hey, I'm following up. Because you're like, come on, stop being desperate. But what is your way? What do you teach people, and how do you do it?
I'm a firm believer in follow-up, as you probably read. I just think it's so important, but I think it's a way we follow up. We get to, you'll put a subject line, checking in, something like that. You got to think about what you're putting in, make it the subject line, and for an email, if you're doing follow-up on an email, subject line, and then that first line that's above the fold that they can see, you have to add value in there depending on what you're doing. And make sure that use a headline rater. Go in and put a headline rater, rate the subject line, see where it comes up at. Make sure it brings value to the people if it's something about the topic you want. But don't just go the lazy route and put like checking in or, hey, thought I'd reach out one more time. Really bring value. And same with a cold call. If you're going to leave the message, don't just, hey, just checking in, getting back. I want to get back to you on it. You have to bring value and give them a reason to call back. And, a good one that we've done, let's say you've done a pitch and they're not responding back to you, is just say, listen, there's another property came on the market in the area. I'd like to discuss it with you. Please give me a call. And hopefully you want to make sure there is a property or something's changed in the community of that property. Give them a reason to call you to give more information. But bring value when you leave a message. Don't just go leave a message and count that as a good reach out. And you got to remember, when you're doing a cold call, and it's going to be the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 10th follow-up, that's where the business is going to be at. The first call, seldom, unless you just happen to hit it right, I don't know that I've ever done it, do you get business. It's that follow-up down the line, and it's got to be smart. You cannot be lazy. You've got to take the time. Just Google subject lines, headlines, do a little research, and what works, and you're going to be surprised how easy it is.
You say it with such simplicity, perhaps, you can just Google, and then you'll get, and then you'll do it. But people still don't do it. They keep, and I want to highlight, you said on the 10th call, on the 10th touch point, on the 10th time that you try. And some people are like, I don't want to be too pushy. But it takes 10 times to get to a yes. So what culture do you instill to people in your organization that they have to go to the 10th call?
I just use it from my experience, because I know that you've got to make sure that you got in this business to make money. If you're not getting you just got to go until it's a no, an absolute no. And even then, you might try it one more time. We work on the mindset is what we do. And, we want you to listen when you're getting, if they're not responding at all, but if you're talking to them, they say, no, not right now. I want you to listen to how they're saying no, the tone. I want you to listen to the whole package, not just the no. And, you'll find hope. When somebody says, oh, no, not right now. To me, that's not a no. What I heard was like, okay, not right now. So I'm okay. I'm going to reach out in a few more weeks and say that and try and get them to know that I am going to call you back. But for us, it's just a mindset. And we really want to work with people that when I'm working with people, the amount of rejection you're going to get is huge. And so you've got to have that to where you just got to keep going. And, the money is there. You just got to keep dialing that phone or sending that email. But mindset.
Yeah. Dealing with rejection is definitely number one fear of most people. They think rejection is you go home and you feel beat up, but this is just part of the dance. Part of the success is how many no's can you get.
Well, a lot of it, Ahmad, is when you're having a conversation with somebody, and we as salespeople, we tend to talk a lot, right? So you're always listening for a reason to give them a call back anyway. So if you practice active listening and engaging with somebody when you actually have them on the phone, you're going to hear something that, down the road, and this is why it's so important to have a good CRM. When you have a conversation with somebody, really listening to what they're saying to you and how they're saying it, and then write it down. Say, I'm going to call you back in a couple of weeks. Well, as soon as you hang up the phone, write down the conversation and key points that came out in that conversation. What were they saying? So when you call them back, you can go back to that conversation and relay new information from that conversation that you can follow up on. But active listening is really important. And we as salespeople, we just like to talk and talk and talk because we think that's going to get us the deal. Active listening is going to give you a lot more closings.
I like it. You're right. Sometimes salespeople get trained on a sales book. They read the pitch. They read it 100 times. And the minute that someone says hello, they spew out this regurgitated knowledge. And then at the end, you're like, but I just wanted to know where the bathroom is, or like, this completely.
Exactly. We just get triggered. It's like being lazy when you're out in a meeting and somebody, hey, how's the market? And you say, oh, it's good. They've just given you an opportunity to say, you know what? Multifamily right now, there's 15 properties on the market. Average days on market is 102. Average per square foot price is, give them details, not a generic answer. That puts you in front of everybody else in your market. If you want to make sure when you get the opportunity, and that's why knowing your market is so important, right? Is when they give you the opportunity to show that you're the professional in the marketplace, you jump on it.
Exactly. If someone came to you today with perhaps some talent, but no deals, nothing, but they wanted to go into real estate, what's like, not the exact plan, but a plan that you would give them so that they could get started in the next 30 days?
We tell them, if you're new, you haven't been in the business before, you're not going to touch a phone. In our company, we won't allow you to touch a phone for a few weeks because I'm going to give you the system that's going to teach you the marketplace. And just like I was saying before about when somebody asks you, be prepared. I want you to know everything about your marketplace before you touch that phone. Because so many people just get on the phone and start cold calling. Hey, are you thinking about selling or leasing or buying a property? No? Okay, thank you, goodbye. Just keep doing that all day, 200 times a day making calls. Now, if you get somebody on the phone and you say, hey, I see you've got an industrial property in the marketplace. I've got some buyers for it. And, there's a limited number of properties on the market. I see there's about 19 right now. We really need to find something in your size range. And, you just really break down the market for them to let them know that and you keep them on the phone longer. And you just let them know that you have this market knowledge. It's going to work a lot better. So we really test our agents. After week number 1, I'll sit down with them and go, okay, let's go through the market. Let's see how many properties on the market right now, average price, days on market, average list price, average sales price, average size, all of it. And if they don't have it down just instantly, I say, okay, take next week and really learn this again. Let's really brush this up and tighten it up. And then maybe they can get on the phone. But we want them to know the market better than everybody else. And I don't understand why companies, brokerages, don't do that. Because if you know your market better than everybody else, your chance to really close a deal earlier is a lot higher. which for your brokerage is a lot better, for the agent is a lot better. And a couple weeks of education is not that, in the scheme of things, is not that long, but your hit rate's going to be a lot higher. So that's what we do. So we do that. Then we do classes every morning at 8:30, and they go with our CEO. He does a class at 8:30 to go to like 9:15 or 9:30. And on Tuesdays or Thursday nights, we sit down with our new agents at 5 p.m. and just say, okay, how is it going this week? You know, how many calls did you get out? What kind of meetings do you have? And then we talk about what are their strengths and what are weaknesses. This sounds like a lot. This is only about 15 minutes. And 'cause there's only 4 new agents. And, you know, these are my strengths. I book these appointments. What do you think your weaknesses are? How can we help you work on them? And I almost think those 15-minute meetings at 5 and on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they help a lot because other agents that are new in the office will show them how to overcome some of the stuff that they've been dealing with, along with George and I both sitting there helping them overcome. You know, these newer agents are starting to make money a heck of a lot sooner because they've got the support of the company and the other new agents. It kind of builds a good company culture as well.
For sure. And something I like a lot about your approach of deep knowledge and understanding, and because real estate agents aren't really there to open the door. You know, that's not some people say they're just opening the door, but you don't work with the guy that opens the door. You work with the guy that can give you good advice. Should I sell? Should I not sell? Should I lower the price? Should I bid higher? What should I do? Because that's not everybody's a real estate professional. You might get a person that does a transaction once in their lifetime. So they want to arm themselves with a sort of like a guardian angel next to them that says, this is a good decision. And I can tell you for a fact because I know this market really well. And that's where I see the value of what you're doing, which is you're working almost with a consultant. It's not a guy that's going to just show you the properties. It's the guy that will help you make a good decision.
Yep, advisor. Yep, it's really important to have that in mind because, you know, when we started with our companies, the agents back then controlled all the data, right? We knew where everything, and the regular investor didn't have access to that information. Now, everybody has access to the information. So we've had to evolve. And, you know, because now you can go on LoopNet and see what's available. You won't get everything, but you get a lot of it. And, you know, so you really have to know your market. And you have to understand that, you know, I was talking to a young kid the other day that just got out of college. He goes, oh, I'd never really done sales. And I said, you know what? Commercial real estate anymore isn't just about sales. It's knowing your market. It's understanding people. And I was talking about empathy in sales, because if you really have the mindset of, if you and I are negotiating a lot and I understand where you were coming from and why you want to get the price you want to get to, and I know where I'm at with my client, and you're not my enemy. The deal is getting the deal to, I don't want to say, and I shouldn't say enemy, I guess, but that's the rub. So you and I are working together to get to a point, and, you know, understanding where your client is. And it's really evolved a lot since we used to be in control of everything.
For sure. And it heightened the position of knowledge, because if you have data, that's useless if you don't have expertise or perhaps even wisdom of how to interpret this. Are we in a rising market? I see too many properties. Is there vacancy? Is there no vacancy? It still takes a skilled eye, and I like the way that you've elevated the game really for your people, and that's how they've become a lot more successful quicker.
Yeah, it does. They start making money a lot faster.
Yeah. You worked with John Paul DeGioria, who's a very famous person. And what did you learn watching someone like that to make decisions and build teams?
His thing was, that was a flashback. I was just talking to his daughter the other day. She races cars now, of all things, but Alexis. But here he was, this extremely wealthy guy, and we were doing these deals, and he actually cared about the people on the other side. You know, he just was, what are they thinking? And so he would always ask, what are they thinking? And because he wanted to know who he was dealing with. And so a lot of it was that, it just being real, authentic. He was always authentic. He never changed, ever. And so it was really an experience to be, and he was so, and then he just wasn't that confident of a person, I didn't think. But in the end, I think he was just being his true self. And I really learned a lot from that.
That's a great answer, because some people are afraid of being themselves. And they think that by being themselves, they might not be a high performer, but you've just
Yeah.
flipped the
Oh
script
God.
that, you know.
He was running a company not even that long, just a few years ago. He still had a flip phone and hadn't been on a computer. He just puts the right team in place. And, he has the right team. His daughter runs Paul Mitchell now. Michaeline runs Paul Mitchell Hair Care Products now. And so he always put the right team, and he trusted them. And, they'd have their weekly reports that they would do. And he was one of the first ones that would buy his own, the whole team lunch in the corporate office every day. He was doing that 20 years ago. It's got to be a kind of new thing over the last several years, but he was doing that a long time ago. And he just worries about people. And it's a real thing. It's not, I've watched him. I've seen him do stuff that I'm like, you didn't have to do that, but you chose to. And it was amazing.
Yeah. Let's go to your content side, because I think what you're doing on YouTube is really taking off. You have tons of subscribers. You're teaching people your way. How did you come about building content to being like almost the center of your company? And why is it a non-negotiable now?
So when George and I started off, we were doing the Sands Group and our other companies, there was nobody really around to mentor us. And it just made it really hard. And we decided back then, when we have the opportunity, we're going to make sure it's a lot easier for the next generation to come in and build a business. And because it didn't need to be as hard as it was. And, back then, just everybody kept their hands, their cards close to their chest because they saw you as competition. And what we now know is there's so much business for everybody. You don't need to be doing that. You can be having a hand up to the next generation. And so that's really was the genesis of it. And then we started using some content creation. We knew it was going to be a big thing. 20 years ago, we started doing SEO on our website, maybe 19 years ago. SEO on our website, we were one of the first ones. So we started popping off and seeing the business come in from that. We were bringing in clients from around the globe. And then we couldn't support some of it. So we bring these clients in and they say, okay, it's great in LA. Hey, we want to be in Dallas or New York. And we'd have to give the client up. And so that's why we built our commercial real estate affiliate network. Content has always been something that drives business for us. And, the education side of it is just something I believe in. When I started to go to college, I ended up only making a year and a half and I ran out of money. But it was for education. I want to be a school teacher. So this is kind of my thing. And I just love it. I love seeing the younger generation come in and watch them grow. I get to come in the office every day and we've got 4 new agents in here. And, a year ago, they were doing another job. And here they are doing deals right now in real estate, obviously with some really good oversight, but they've been going to class now for 7 months. And they know more than a lot of people that have been in our business for a few years, because they're really taking education serious. And with the mentoring I do, it's just really fun to see them grow. And that's what this joekillinger.co is about. It's really about for people that want to, I touch on investing, mostly it's about brokerage. I just wrote a booklet that's on there, Your First 90 Days in Commercial Real Estate. I just published another one that is transitioning from a real estate agent to a broker owner, because when George and I did that, we made a lot of mistakes. And so I thought we should just write that down. And really, if anybody else wants to transition, they can see the mistakes. It might be a little bit different in their market, but it kind of gives them an outline of what it's like. And it's all free on the website.
I think it's so valuable when there are mentors. I have this rule, or perhaps this idea, that I should spend 33% of my time with people that are more than me, that are ahead of me, that can help me. 33% of my time with people that are my peers, and 33% of my time with people that need my experience or perhaps my expertise to mentor them. But the top 33 is always the hardest, because you might live in a rural area, you might be shy, you might not know too many people, but then you have the internet and the facility of YouTube that is free. You can tap into anybody you want and learn from them and study them.
That's exactly right. I just had an interview with Randall Kaplan, a billionaire. But when he was starting, he was in college and he wanted to meet some of the top CEOs in the marketplace. And he sent 300 letters out to top CEOs. But his thing is extreme preparation. And he is extreme preparation. Believe me, I'm like, okay. He does a lot, but he knew everything about the people that actually responded to him and interviewed him. He ended up over at Kaufman and Broad with Eli Broad, that was at that time had 2 Fortune 500 companies, which I don't know if anybody else has ever done before. He had Sun America and Kaufman and Broad, and he ended up working under him for several years, and he just reached out and asked. And he got to know other people that responded to that letter, and now they're investing with it. But he just reached out and asked, because I've got everything to gain and nothing to lose. So let's try it. And then, but his extreme preparation and knowing everything about the people when they went in the interview is what got him there. So the lucky letter, got the meeting. The knowledge is what kept him there.
I don't want to gloss over your two books and the fact that you said if someone was starting their brokerage, there's some mistakes that you can avoid. What is those maybe high level, if you were going to start over, what would you not overlook?
The recruiting. So we thought the recruiting was going to be a lot easier than it is. It's not just getting the interviews, it's getting the right people, and we've made some mistakes. We've had new people that I thought were going to work, and they get into the training and I don't know if they didn't believe us that the training was going to be a little hard, or I'm not sure what it was. And then they just were like, no, I can't do this. And which we try and say, listen, if you start having questions about it, if you're thinking about quitting, I suggest you just quit. Because when you get in that mindset of, I'm thinking about quitting, you're just spending money. When you're on 100% commission anyway, you're just spending money for your rent and for your car and gas. And, you should just go do something that you're really more sure with. And, do everything you can and sit down and talk to somebody before you quit. But if you're getting in that mindset, it's just sometimes best to move on. But, and then, so the new people we're a lot lower than most. We're at around 60% turnover. But as far as newer agent or older agents, getting the right ones, because they really can drive a company culture, and you really want to make sure you focus on that. And it's the more experienced agents are a little harder to read because they've been on a lot of interviews, So yeah, so the recruiting is probably the most difficult thing.
How do you do it now?
We've been in the business a while, so it's easier to pick up a phone, right? But our agents will refer somebody in. We were running some ads for a while to get newer people. That works pretty well. I think we were doing Indeed, LinkedIn, and a couple others. But mostly for the more experienced agents, George, our CEO, cold calls. He calls people and just asks them, hey, are you thinking about switching companies if you're not happy where you're at? And so between him cold calling, and we're actually going to try an AI system. We're going to start it next week. And it's going to do a lot of reach out for us and see if that can help. Because we want to open another office in Orange County, Newport Beach area. So we want to test we're always testing stuff just to see what works, what doesn't work. And I'm amazed just over in 2025, how some of these systems that do cold calling for you, we haven't used them, but we're testing them constantly. And they, we'll test with some of these young people, and say, no, that's not good enough. And they'll go back and they'll come back a couple months later. And it's amazing how much different it is, but it's still not there. You can tell it's AI. But so we're always testing, but yeah, so we're trying email reach out, LinkedIn reach out, cold calling. So all of them. And it's just, it's easy to put butts in seats, but it's hard to find people that really fit your company culture. And it's a very, very important thing. And we had a couple that were like, listen, this is probably not the best place for you. They made some money and it changed them. It really changed them. And it was just bringing the vibe down in the office completely. And that's important to me. I'm in the office every day. So it's very important for me to be around people that I really want to be around every day.
And that's great advice for any startup, any business, any case, because I think most people might focus too much on, okay, I'm going to start a brokerage because I'm going to make more money. I'm going to do it in Miami, and I'm going to do it for luxury condos. Like they focus so much on that, but then they overlook, okay, but who's going to be my team?
Yeah.
And if you don't have that piece, you're gonna have what you just mentioned. It's a clash.
Yeah, the cost. I looked at, we were going over some of our expenses for last month, and our costs have jumped a lot with all the apps. So we're trying a few different tools. So those tools cost, but all the different memberships we have for all the agents so they can use these different tools, some of the apps, we'll spend between around 20 grand a month just in those. And so if you want to compete with the big boys, you've got to have it. And so a lot of smaller guys, it's tough to compete if you don't have that. So you really want to sit down and do a deep dive into your expenses and understand that, if you're getting somebody away from a big firm, that they expect to have a junior or an assistant. So you really want to make sure you're including that in your conversations with them before you bring them on.
For sure. Now that you're on your third company, you've done, like I said at the beginning, $950 million plus. What version of success no longer interests you, and what are you chasing now instead?
Just want to happiness for me. I want to create a life where I don't want to say I'm worried about a whole lot, but I want to be in the office every day around people I want to be around. That's very important for me. I want to be able to have fun with these people because I think those people are the most productive. And I really want to see a company that is helping young people get into the marketplace and create a future for themselves and their family. That's probably what's most important for me. And I think, hiring the right people that really have the drive. So it goes for me back to hiring the right people. I don't just hire anybody. I hire people that I think are really they're good people. They're going to work hard and they're going to do something with their success that matters. And there's a lot of those out there. You just have to find them.
It's funny how life changes. You said,
Yep.
starting your career, you were selling farmland. You didn't do it for
Yeah.
the money, but it was really a curiosity of best use case. You
Yep.
felt successful when you found perhaps the
Mhm.
right puzzle, but now you're
Yep.
looking at happiness and team and how to
Mhm.
get people to mentor them into the industry, which is brutal. It's very hard. It's not commercial real estate is a very complicated, very competitive industry and old. So it's not, you really have to pave your way in.
If you're not in a company that is supportive of you, and this goes for new agents as well as even more experienced agents, because I was walking by our conference room the other day and there was one of our more experienced agents sitting there with one of the newer agents. And I saw that they were on their phones and I don't know what the heck he's teaching or she's teaching him today, but I talked to her later. She goes, "Oh no, he was showing me some new stuff that popped up on either TikTok or Instagram, one of them, and I want to put a video out." So the young guy was teaching her, and so having that ability for them to swap,
Mm.
and she started including him on a couple deals, and so she goes, "Hey, I could use some help with this client, and if you want to learn something about retail, then I could use the help." And so now she's included him in her business.
That's awesome. What about if someone is listening to this, if someone is looking to come into commercial real estate or perhaps go into sales, what advice would you give them? What can they learn early so that to know if that's their career path or not?
I always suggest going in and doing some mentoring, or you can sit in and talk, just go talk to people who are in the business. Pick up the phone and call people. You'd be surprised how often, if you say somebody's been in the business for 10 years ago, "Listen, I'm thinking about getting in the business. Can I get a half hour of your time? I'm going to buy you a coffee," or, is offer them, "Let me buy you lunch," and just sit down and talk to them about it. But when you make the decision, the key thing that you're going to find is finding the right company for you. So when you're going out and starting to interview companies, make sure you know everything about them. And really interview the company too. They're interviewing you. It's a marriage. Does the company bring everything that you need? Do you bring everything that the company needs? And, because a lot of young people just think, "Oh God, I got an interview. I'm going to go be the best." Well, and then they get in and they go, "Okay, this is different than I was expecting." Well, you didn't ask the right questions. Maybe if you want more mentoring, you need to find a company that does the mentoring, or if they have some kind of training program or a training program, because a lot of them don't. They'll just mentor you and put you on a team and mentor you, and that's, you'll meet once or twice a week and that's it. Well, that's going to take you years to learn an asset class, whereas you're getting trained, it can take a heck of a lot less. So make sure you're interviewing the brokerage company as much as they're interviewing you, and get out there and ask a lot of questions.
I absolutely love what you just said because you find that most people go to interviews thinking that they are the one being interviewed.
Yeah.
But it's a two-way street. HR recruiters will take the time and entrepreneurs or CEOs, whoever their principals, partners, will take the time to read their CV, read the cover letter, go to their LinkedIn, look at their stuff. And then when the candidate comes to the inn and says, "So what do you guys do?" You're like, "Get out of here." That won't cut it. I like your approach.
Yeah, you really got to know what you're getting yourself into, because it's your future. If you're new in the industry, you got to think this is your future and you want the best start that you can get. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your family to get out there and be the best you can be, and do that by finding the right place to really start your career. Firm believer in it.
Joe, this was a wonderful, wonderful experience that you've given us. Teachings, nuggets, wisdom. I'm very glad and humbled that you accepted to come to the show. You taught us from like folding letters to now being in like a filming studio. You're really a man that's done many things and so generous to share his experience. I think if this hits home, which for me it has, I don't think you should just follow Joe. I think you should study him. So look at his videos, look at the systems, look at his mindset. It's all on YouTube. It's all on Instagram. It's all on
We're
LinkedIn.
everywhere.
So, and now you have also your book. So I think this is a great intro, and just reach out, like you said, give a cold call. You'll be surprised how open people are to giving you half an hour and teaching you what you want to hear.
Yep, exactly. It's just making the effort. We're always afraid to, and I was, I first started cold calling, it was hard, but now I don't really have much problem with it. But when you're really looking to building your career, you just owe it to yourself to really give it some time and do it right. And reach out. I mean, if you have questions, just email me, joe@joekillinger.co. And as time permits, I will get back to you. I promise. Reach out. And Ahmad, thank you for having me on here and for all the kind words. Thank you very much for that. I very much appreciate it. I love this business. I love to see young people getting into it. I love to see guys like yourself having all this success you're having. It's very important.
Thank you. Thank you again. And we'll continue to be in touch and keep learning from you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.